Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Miranda and I teach about anything and everything related to the trucking industry and how to navigate it. So if this is a topic that interests you, feel free to subscribe down below. Well guys, today I want to do a recap of 2022 for our two companies. This video will be a great precursor for the video I'm planning to release soon about what I think will happen in 2023. Now, in order to do a recap, we're going to look at some data from my own two companies, compare it to the market data from other sources, and basically we will bask in the crap storm known as 2022. Ready? Let's go! For us, 2022 was definitely a year full of changes. This year we added trucks and trailers to our fleet, we added team members, and towards the end of the year we even started operating a flatbed to try out that market. Was it smart for us to implement all of these changes in a year like 2022? Well, my answer will change depending on how you ask the question. If I knew that 2022 would be the way it is before we started expanding, I would definitely be against implementing any changes to our company because I am the kind of person who wears suspenders with a belt and I'd rather be safe than sorry. The reality is changing things in a big way in an uncertain market is never a smart move. But the question is, do I regret the changes that we have implemented in our companies? And the honest answer is no, I do not. We have an amazing team in place. I have met wonderful people throughout this year, and I think that we are in a really good position to conquer the future once the market changes. So now let's go to the board and let's look at our company data month by month and see what happened throughout the year. Okay, so let's start. These are the numbers from our two companies. So we have our original company up here and we have our baby company right here. For those of you who don't know, yes, we have two trucking companies. The original company has been in business for over 3 years. The baby company is coming up on its 1-year anniversary. So let's first take a look at January in our original company. The green lines is the gross income. The red is the expenses and the black is how much of this expense was fuel. So it's not that fuel is an expense on top of the red line, it's just how much of this total expense, the red line, is fuel. So January was a pretty great month. I had one of my business partners driving in our original company. He was driving a reefer, and my other business partner was driving in our baby company a dry van. So as you can see in the baby company, we made over $30,000 gross in January, considering that we were completely new. We were a completely new authority with our baby company. And with our original company, with the reefer, we made over $50,000 gross. Now, January was still the time when we were riding that 2021 wave. Then February rolls around, and what you can see is our income in the original company skyrockets. Why is that? Because we added our first ever team member to our original company. So now there were two people driving here, my business partner and the new team member we added. Of course, this also meant that our expenses went up. They almost doubled because of payroll and so on and so forth. And the fuel expense also went up because now there are two trucks running. For our baby company, the gross income actually went down a little bit, but the expenses didn't change at all. And the reason that the gross income went down is because my business partner, who was working in this company, took some time to get that truck ready for our new team member in our original company. In general, everything seemed to be going pretty well in February, and then the crap storm began. On February 24th, Mr. Putain, and yes, there is a reason I'm pronouncing his name in a French accent. My French-speaking buddies will understand. But anyway, this guy decides to invade the Ukraine, and we have the beginnings of a perfect storm. In response to this invasion, on March 8th, the US announces that they are going to be banning all imports of Russian oil to the US. Of course, the news of this alone sent the fuel prices up. They skyrocketed like crazy. So let me show you. So this is a chart from Trading Economics, and you can see that the price per barrel for crude oil on March 8th, it was at its peak. It just went up like crazy to $120 per barrel. Now, of course, if the price per barrel is going up, that means we're going to feel it at the pump. Here's a chart by Sonar. This is the actual price per gallon, and you will see that in March right here, this is when the price skyrocketed, somewhere in March 8th. So this is what has been the biggest problem in 2022. It's the fuel that has been eating away at our net income. Now, if we go back to my personal charts for our two companies, you will see that in March, which is right here and right here, the expenses increased, but the fuel actually stayed the same. So why is that? Well, this is because both my business partners, the one working in our original company and in our baby company, they did not operate for a full month. Why? Because we added a second team member to our original company, and both business partners were getting that truck ready for this team member. We were getting the truck maintained, repaired, so that it's in perfect condition. But to give you an idea, this is a chart I made from our fleet card. This shows every single transaction we have had at the pump with our fuel card. This shows only the price at the pump. It does not show with discounts. And you will see that somewhere around here, March 8th, is when there was a spike in diesel prices. So even though the expenses didn't really increase in terms of fuel, there was an increase in the per gallon price. So March was definitely a month full of changes. Then comes April, which was a disaster for our original company. As you can see, April was the first and thankfully only month where our expenses actually exceeded our income. This was also the first month that my business partner did not work within this company. He actually moved to our baby company and started team driving with my other business partner. That's why the income here increased so much. So you will see from our baby company in April, the expenses pretty much doubled, the fuel doubled, but so did the gross income. The gross income actually more than doubled. So whatever we lost in our OG company, we made up in our baby company. But what happened here? Why is it that our expenses exceeded our income? Well, because this was the month where I had to pay all the trucking related taxes, IFTA, New Mexico, Kentucky, New York, all of that. But that's not the real reason. The real reason is that there was a ton of maintenance done in April on these trucks, so it was just a mess. On top of it, the way we pay for fuel sometimes screws up the system. Basically, in this month, in the month of April, we paid for fuel that was purchased in the last week of March, and the same applied to payroll. So actually some of these expenses were from March. So then we have May and June for both companies. In our baby company, we increased our gross income and our expenses decreased, which was awesome. It was a really good month. For our original company, the gross income increased, the expenses decreased, so we managed to make a net income. Just so you guys know, everything on top of this yellow line is basically the net income. So we managed to make a little bit. Now, June was even better in terms of gross income. The expenses did increase a little bit because June is when the diesel prices skyrocketed. Just as a reminder, here we have June. This is when the prices were at their peak, and you can actually see it from our chart as well. Actually, June 30th. Well, all of this, all of these moments, you see there were peaks here in terms of diesel prices and diesel expenses. So then July rolls around and you can see that the income drops in the baby company as well as the OG company. One of our team members decided to pursue local work, so he left, and towards the end of the month, one of my partners went back to our original company. And this is why you see such a huge jump in gross income in August and a decline for the gross income in the baby company in August. So towards the end of the year, things kind of leveled out, but you will see that right here for the dry van company or the baby company and September for the original company, the expenses went up. Even though we didn't add any new team members, there was nothing going on like that. Well, this is because this is when we started paying for 2 new trucks that we ordered. So we are financing 2 new Freightliners. The payments for the baby company started in October, and for the original company, they started in September. And of course, with these 2 trucks added, the insurance starts going up. Now, you will see that in November, in the baby company, the gross income went down, the expenses went down. What happened? Well, my business partner who runs in this company, he actually did not work for pretty much half of the month here. So that's why the gross income and the expenses went down. But in our original company, you will see that the gross income went up. And this is because in November is when we added another team member, and he started working in the beginning of November. So of course the expenses increased, the fuel increased, but so did the gross income. Now, unfortunately, these two charts go until November, and this is because December is not over yet. So I do not have all the data on December, but I do have to say December is pretty awesome in terms of fuel. This is probably the first month in a long time where I actually managed to find fuel for $3.40 per gallon. Now I want to show you the rate per mile for our two companies. The blue lines are our original company, the red are our baby company, and this is the total rate per mile, including deadhead. So what you can see, of course, from January, it started dropping, right? But then it pretty much plateaued. I mean, of course, there were ups and downs, but it pretty much stayed relatively the same. I have always been saying that the load rate per mile is not the biggest issue in 2022. The biggest issue is the fact that the expenses are eating away at the bottom line. So just to give you an idea, here is for our original company. So I hope you guys can see it. This is fuel. It makes up 41.3% of total expenses. Payroll is 31.2%. Then there's maintenance, insurance, equipment, and other things. But fuel makes up 41.3% in our original company. In our baby company, fuel makes up 54.1% of the expenses. Insurance takes the other almost 14%, equipment is 13.5%, and then there's maintenance. But look what a huge chunk of expenses goes towards fuel. Fuel will always be the greatest expense of any carrier. The problem is that the price per gallon matters. And of course, to top it off, there was crazy inflation in 2022. Thankfully, it started going down, but still, it's pretty high. So that means the cost of maintenance, parts, tools that you need for the truck, everything, all of those things, they increased in price, which means that your expenses are eating away at your profits. So what I'm trying to say is that while the rate per mile is not the cause of all our problems in 2022, the rate per mile failed to change with the times. If the rate per mile reflected the increasing cost to carriers, we would be in a much different situation. But unfortunately, what ended up happening is that the price of everything increased for a carrier, but the rate per mile either stayed the same or sometimes went down a little bit, therefore reducing that net income. Anyway, guys, I hope this video was, well, entertaining. I don't know if you learned anything from it since we're looking at past events, but I decided that I will treat this particular video as a memoir, and I hope to look back at it one day and say, remember that one time when the industry was in such a crap hole that we thought the whole world was ending? Hopefully when that day comes, I am a multi-billionaire with a fleet of 1 million trucks. Yeah, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, guys, wishing you a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video.